Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am working on week 5 of my 2022 Project Life album, and I'm using one of my stash kits. So this one here is based on the dearlydee polka dot party 6x6 pad. I've used it a couple of times now, so I've got to say the supplies are kind of running a bit short, especially this week because just the kind of photos that I've had, I've got a couple of spots in there that you can see I've filled with some journaling cards. I'm really going to journal based off the prompts of the cards, which say the worst thing about today and the best thing about today. I'm kind of interpreting that as about the week. But I need 3 4x6 spots basically this week is how I've laid it out, and I don't have a whole lot of 4x6 cards left, so I am actually cracking into the paper pad and going against every instinct that I have to pick pink. I'm going to focus on that kind of tealy, sagey kind of green that's in my photos this week. There's a few different spots of kind of teal and green, and so that's what I'm going to pick up in the papers. So I got lucky in that one of those particular journal cards has a bit of a teal spot on it as well. The other one's kind of peach, so those are going to be my two sort of main colors. I picked a really, it's quite a heavy, dark kind of teal for the top, just to balance out that really dark photo. It was very early in the morning, so a very dark photo. It needs something a little bit heavier to balance that out. And I'm going to try and keep the rest a little bit on the lighter side, just so the whole thing doesn't become overwhelmingly heavy. So here's where I'm at. I've got a little camera camera paper, a stripe, and that lovely frame. All 3 of those papers from that pad are a little bit on the kind of grey side, so they're not bright white like these cards are, and that way they kind of tone back a little bit, so it helps those journal cards stand out a little bit more. Now, speaking of the journal cards, I've been and done my journaling. I've just run them straight through my typewriter. I believe that those are old cards from Studio Calico, and so they are a very thick sort of quality paper. My typewriter doesn't cope well with it, so I've only been able to put a little bit of journaling on there. There's quite a big kind of ugly space at the end of it, and so I've just filled that space with a sticker, basically. So the stickers were in my stash kit. I've just picked ones with sort of sayings that kind of go with the journaling that I've put on. Now, I am attempting to keep things pretty simple and quick this week, but that 4x6 card with the 2 photos, it needed just a little something on there, and so I went through my... well, it's getting smaller, my stash of washi tape. I was kind of hoping for one of those sort of peachy coloured ones, but I didn't really have the right one. So in the end, I've used kind of a rainbow stripe. It does have that little peachy colour in it, but mostly it's kind of greens and teals, so it works nicely. That was from a Heidi Swap Stop the Blur kit, I think, and I just cut off a couple of little pieces from there. Now, one of the stamp sets I pulled out this week was this, I think it's called Go See Do from Citrus Twist, this big one. To be honest, I haven't used that a lot in the last couple of years, but this is kind of got some travel in it this week, so I'm using that stamp set just a little bit. There are kind of 3 things, so all of the photos on this right-hand side of my page relate to one particular day in this week, and so does my journaling. So in the journaling, there's kind of 3 different things that I talked about, so I've used the number 1, 2, 3 stamp to kind of illustrate them on my photos. And then on this 4x6, where I stamped the number 1 was kind of to highlight the clock in the car, but I added also the word drive, the stamp drive. But you'll see I've used a new ink. I really wanted it to be teal and not white. I didn't want white next to the white stamp. And so I do have a couple of these Versa Magic chalk inks in my stash. And it was a little bit of an experiment because if I have stamped these on photos before, I definitely don't remember it, so I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but actually it stamped like a dream. not forgetting that I print at home, so my paper is designed to absorb ink, and it absorbed this ink beautifully. So you can see it's opaque on the dark photo, but it still comes off as like this tealy sage color. It's called Oasis Green. I'm so pleased. So it looked so good. You can see I stamped another one on my little coffee selfie down there, and that stamp actually came from the Travelog stamp as well, because I think it just says like happiness by choice, which, you know, isn't necessarily travel themed at all. It worked nicely with my coffee photo. Now, I know I've still got 2 cards to do, but I'm just going to quickly put together my title card. I don't want to do anything like too over the top. Like I said, trying to keep things simple, just a few stickers and stamps this week. So I'm going to do the same thing with my title card. I've got the lunar numbers. I want to stamp 05 just because I like 2 stamps together rather than just having the number 5. I'm going to put 05, and I wasn't sure what ink to use. I wasn't sure how this chalk ink was actually going to go on the paper. I decided I would give it a go first and see what happened, and as you'll see, it stamps just as beautifully on the paper as it did on the photos. So I might have a new favorite photo stamping ink. I'm going to go that far. It was nice to be able to stamp color rather than just white on those darker photos. So I've stamped both of those numbers down on the bottom right-hand corner. I decided to add my little sort of date cluster down here. I've got one of my printable labels. I picked a little peach-colored one just to bring a little bit more of that color up here. I am going to end up adding black as well when I date stamp. And instead of using those pink alphas, which are my favorite, I'm going to use these little teal ones and just keep everything really kind of tone on tone. So I used the label as sort of a shelf for the title, making sure that I spread out those letters along the whole width of the label. Then I can go ahead and date stamp. It is kind of a small label because this is one of those weeks that kind of spans 2 different months. So I'm just very cautious with where I'm stamping the date stamps on there. It's a little bit crowded, but overall I kind of love how that turned out. Now, in the sort of interest of keeping things quick and simple, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with these 2 little cards and photos. They were a little bit sort of plain on their own. I did want to add something, and so I'm just going to go back to my fallback, which is stamping. I'm going to stamp fun, and again, that was from that sort of travel themed set, but works perfectly from a little FaceTime with Jack. This one wasn't quite so easy though, because I had some horrendous headaches this week, so all I could manage to do was take a photo of some of my medication, and there wasn't really anything that I could like turn negatively on that travel stamp set, so I did go back into my stash. I was looking for my stamp set, but I couldn't find it. In the end, I've gone with all the things. There are a couple of little stamps in here that allow me to stamp out the phrase crappy bad day, which is perfect. I'm just stamping them again using my little sage green ink, stamping that in the white space, and that's this layout all done. I'm super proud of keeping it simple, super proud of not just picking out the pink in this kit, and I gotta say, I like love how this week turned out. Hey, thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, I'm going to leave a couple of videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye!